1.5 billion people. 22 official languages. Four major religions born from one single land, and still no one has fully understood India. Not because it is complicated, but because every time you think you understand it, it opens another door, leading into an entirely different world. With different colors, a different rhythm of breath, and a way of seeing life you may have never imagined before. Snow falls on the highest mountains on Earth, and just a few hundred kilometers away, desert sand glows under the sun like molten gold. Rivers are worshipped as living gods. While tigers move through mangrove forests like ghosts with stripes. People build a tomb so beautiful that the whole world comes just to stand before it, and then falls silent because no word is enough. Festivals erupt in daylight-colored powder, beating drums, the smell of incense. Everything merging into something that can only be felt, never fully described. This is not a journey to explore a country. This is a journey to explore a question India has been asking humanity for thousands of years and still has never given anyone a complete answer. And that question begins where the Earth decides to touch the sky. Where every step reminds you that there some places on Earth far greater that nature did not create for human comfort, they were standing there long but to make humans understand their own limits to look up. The Himalayas are one of those places, not because they are beautiful, though they are beautiful enough to make you forget how to breathe. But because here, every step reminds you that there are things far greater than you, and they were here long before humanity knew how to name anything. 50 million years ago, the Indian tectonic plate slammed into the Eurasian plate, and the Earth was forced upward higher and higher until it nearly touched the stratosphere. The Himalayas were not simply created. They were pushed into existence meter by meter across millions of years of geological pressure. Standing before Kanchenjunga at 8,586 meters, the third highest mountain on Earth, you look up and understand that what stands before you is not just a mountain. It is time carved into form. The local people call it the 5 treasures of the Great Snow, and they never climb all the way to the summit, not because they cannot, but because they should not. Some things become more sacred when they are worshipped from a distance. And if Kanchenjunga is the whisper of power, then Kashmir is the whisper of beauty. The valley opens like a dream that nature itself almost cannot believe is real. Carpets of green stretching between 2 walls of snow-covered mountains. Dal Lake shimmering beneath the sky. Wooden houseboats carved with delicate detail drifting gently across the peaceful water. Mughal poetry called this place Paradise on Earth. And standing here at autumn sunrise while the white mist has not yet lifted you, find no reason to disagree. But beauty in the Himalayas never comes alone. It always arrives with mystery. And the greatest mystery of these mountains is not the height of their peaks or the depth of their valleys. It is the thing watching you from cliffs you cannot see. The snow leopard. Its body is a little over 1 meter long, weighing between 25 and 55 kilograms, much smaller than most people imagine. Its pale, grey-gold fur, marked with dark rosettes, dissolves completely into granite and snow, as if it does not exist at all, but is simply part of the mountain. Its tail, almost as long as its body, wraps around its face while it sleeps, protecting it from temperatures of -40 degrees. It can leap more than 9 meters across vertical rock without making a sound. It lives between 3,000 and 5,500 meters above sea level, higher than any other big cat on Earth. Hunting alone at night, tracking wild goats across dozens of kilometers of terrain that humans would need ropes to cross. Fewer than 7,000 remain in the world. The Sherpa call it the spirit of the mountain, not because it is powerful, but because seeing one feels like a privilege granted by the mountains to those patient enough and humble enough to wait. And if the snow leopard is the secret the Himalayas keep for themselves, then the wild yak is what the Himalayas share with humanity. More than 2 meters tall at the shoulder, weighing nearly a ton, with long hair hanging almost to the ground like a cloak nature made, especially for the high plateau. On nights of snowstorms, the herd stands close together as one solid mass, turning their backs outward against the wind, shielding the young in the center, a collective wisdom that needs no language. They feed on sparse grass, rock moss, and lichen things most animals could never digest. Without the yak, there would be no Himalaya in the human sense. Its milk feeds children. Its hair becomes tents and clothing. Its strength carries loads across high mountain passes where no vehicle can go. The Sherpa do not call the yak livestock. They call it the king of the plateau. And when you see a wild yak standing motionless in a snowstorm, calm as a living boulder, you understand why the title is no exaggeration. They walk with the pace of those who know the path better than any map. Migrating from eastern Tibet in the 15th century, they carried with them genes adapted to low oxygen and a memory of terrain carved into their DNA across generations. When evening falls, 5 colored prayer flags snap in the wind. Blue for the sky, white for the air, red for fire, green for water, and yellow for the earth. Chanting rises from Tawang Monastery. Built in 1680, its red walls burning against the white clouds, not for outsiders to hear, but for the mountains to hear. Tibetan Buddhism does not revere mountains because they are beautiful. It reveres them because they are older than every god humanity has ever imagined. And that ancientness itself is a form of holiness that no doctrine needs to explain. And if you want to see that holiness appear in color, the Valley of Flowers in July will convince you. More than 500 species of flowers bloom at once between white snow and gray stone. There is no clear reason for them to be this beautiful, and because of that, their appearance feels like an unasked-for gift. The local people say this is where the fairies live. And when you see red, purple, and yellow petals burning against the cold snow, you find no reason not to believe them. And then the last flowers close. The snow returns, covering everything in white. But the water does not stop. It seeps through layers of soil, through layers of stone, flowing lower, warmer, and toward lands more crowded with life. Carrying with it the memory of snow, of flowers, of chanting on the high passes, pouring into the great rivers, waiting below. And along that current, the story also descends toward a land where life no longer has to fight to survive, but only needs to be planted in order to grow. And it is true. Here, everything grows. Rice, sugarcane, wheat villages, cities, civilizations, all from the same thing, silt. That thin, fragile layer of brown earth carried and laid down by the Ganges over thousands of years, patient and generous, like a mother who never asks back for what she has given. The Ganges is not just a river. It is a living presence, vast brown, with silt flowing across the endless flatlands, with the calm of something that knows it is too important to ever be in a hurry. Stretching 2,525 kilometers, joining with the Yamuna to form the largest river system in India, it moves through a 700,000 square kilometer alluvial plain. And every year, the floods leave behind another layer of soil, richer, deeper, more fertile, as if nature is repaying the earth for everything humans have planted into it. Indians call the Ganges Mother Ganga, not as a metaphor, but as a truth in the deepest sense. To bathe in these waters is to wash away sin. To send the ashes of loved ones into this current is to guide them toward rebirth. And at dawn, when silver-white mist still covers the surface of the river, and small deer lamps flicker along the stone ghats, their golden light trembling on the water below. The scene is not simply religion. It is life praying to itself. And within this flooded plain, wildlife still holds its ground, even when there is very little ground left to hold. The one-horned rhinoceros of Kaziranga. 3 to 4 meters long, weighing nearly 3 tons, with skin 4 centimeters thick, folded like medieval armor. They move slowly through swamps and elephant grass, taller than a human head. Carrying the majesty of a creature that knows there is almost nothing on this plain strong enough to challenge it. Its single black horn, reaching up to 60 centimeters, shines under the sun like a reminder of the very thing that almost took everything away. At the beginning of the 20th century, fewer than 200 remained. Today, that number has recovered to more than 3,700, one of the rarest success stories in the wild world. They survive by holding tightly to what remains of the floodplain. Swimming powerfully through channels during the monsoon, using their massive bodies and horn as their only real defense. Feeding on elephant grass and aquatic plants just beneath the water's surface. Each animal's territory is tied to the nearest source of water. Because to move away from water here is no different from moving away from life. Not far from there, herds of Barasingha deer glide through the shallow water. Their great crown-like antlers, with 12 to 14 branches, rise like living trees. They can weigh up to 280 kilograms, yet they move so lightly they seem almost silent. Their secret lies in their unusually wide hooves, evolved specifically for the marsh, spreading their weight so they can walk across flooded ground without sinking. They feed on water grasses and young leaves, living in large herds. Not because they are weak, but because this plain is the territory of the Bengal tiger. And the eyes of a herd are always safer than the eyes of one. Only around 5,000 remain in the world. They are entirely bound to the wetlands of India. Lose this habitat and you lose them. There is nowhere else for them to go. Humans here learned that same lesson of survival long before books ever existed. More than 5,000 years ago, the Indus Valley civilization built cities with drainage systems more advanced than many European cities of the 19th century. Their baked brick ruins lie across the plain like unanswered questions. Who built them? Why did they vanish? And what did they leave behind in the blood of the people still plowing the fields above the remains of their ancestors? Today, farmers wearing lungis and saris step through the mud of endless rice fields. Planting rice, harvesting sugarcane, growing wheat, according to seasonal rhythms their ancestors have followed for centuries. Not because they have no other choice, but because the soil here is so generous, so deeply connected to them, that leaving it feels like leaving behind a part of themselves. Upon this plain, humanity's greatest structures also rose, not to challenge nature, but to tell time that some things must not be allowed to disappear. The Taj Mahal, pure white marble reflected in the still water, a perfectly symmetrical dome, carved details still intact after nearly 400 years. Built by 20,000 workers for an emperor who did not want the woman he loved to be buried by time. He succeeded. Time has only made the Taj Mahal more luminous, as if love, when great enough, can make stone immortal. Not far away, the Red Fort stands, with its massive red walls reflected in the Yamuna River. India Gate rises beneath the Delhi sky like an exclamation point of history. And in Amritsar, the Golden Temple, its 750 kilograms of gold shining over the sacred pool, welcomes tens of thousands of people every day. Not just to visit, but to be fed for free. Because Sikhs believe that no one should go to sleep hungry while another person has more than enough. Faith here is not only prayer. It is a bowl of food placed into the hands of a stranger without asking their name. And when the festivals arrive, this plain catches fire in the most beautiful sense of the word. Holi sends colored powder flying through the air like a rain of color nature itself never learned how to create. Diwali lights millions of lamps at once along the Ghats of the Ganges, light multiplying into light. Until the boundary between sky and water disappears completely. Eid carries the sound of prayer through the dawn and the smell of food shared between neighbors who do not always share the same faith. The North Indian plain is not majestic in the way the Himalayas are majestic. It does not make you feel small. It makes you feel held, nourished, belonging to something that existed before you were born and will remain long after you have passed through. Dark, silent, and patient in the way only truly ancient things know how to be patient. And that patience has a reason. What lies beneath your feet is not ordinary stone. It is lava that cooled 66 million years ago. From a massive eruption that happened around the same time the dinosaurs disappeared. Destruction and creation here are the same act. The Deccan Plateau was not created. It was melted, poured out, and left to cool. And what remained after all of that became the foundation of all South India. Covering more than 500,000 square kilometers with layers of black basalt stacked like pages written by fire and still being read by time. On the western edge of the plateau, the Western Ghats stretch for more than 1,600 kilometers, running like a giant wall covered in rainforest. They are not as high as the Himalayas, but they are older and greener in a way only mountains that have stood for hundreds of millions of years can be green. The local people call them Sahyadri, the sacred mountains. And when you look at the towering layers of trees, the white waterfalls crashing 253 meters down the cliffs at Jog Falls. And the mist covering the canopy like a soft blanket, nature lays down every morning. You understand why this place is called the Green Lung of South India. This mountain range blocks the southwest monsoon winds, squeezing the clouds until they break open into rain. Feeding the Godavari River, 1,465 kilometers long, and the Krishna River, 1,400 kilometers long. They flow across the vast basalt plateau, watering rice fields and green coffee plantations, never asking back for what they have given. And within that rainforest, the most ancient creatures of the Western Ghats are still alive, clinging to the last remaining canopies. The lion-tailed macaque, its jet-black fur, reflects the darkness of the deep forest, but its face is surrounded by a long silver-white mane. Making it look both noble and mysterious in a way no other monkey on Earth does. Only 3,000 to 4,000 remain. They are found only in the Western Ghats, nowhere else on the planet. They live in groups of 10 to 20 high in the wet rainforest canopy, almost never coming down to the ground. Their entire life happens above the forest floor, leaping between branches with absolute precision, feeding on fruit and young leaves, defending their narrow territories with calls that echo through the deep woods. Every jump is a gamble, but over millions of years of evolution, they have learned how never to lose. Above the canopy, on steep, moss-covered cliffs, the Nilgiri Tar stands firm. Its brown gold coat, dense and strong, its hooves gripping the rock, as if gravity does not apply to it here. Only around 3,000 remain found only in the Nilgiri Hills and the Western Ghats. They live in small herds, climbing near vertical slopes with the calm of a creature that knows predators cannot follow. And during the monsoon, when landslides threaten the high slopes, they instinctively move lower, waiting until the mountain becomes stable again before climbing back up, patient just like the mountains that sustain them. At the foot of the Western Ghats, humans also live with two completely different rhythms of breath, and they have learned how to let both survive. On the green hillsides, dark-skinned farmers in sarongs carefully pick tea leaves and red coffee cherries under the highland sun. It is a way of life that has existed for hundreds of years on fertile basalt soil where the climate is cool and the rain is generous enough that almost anything planted wants to grow. And not far from those festival drums still echo whenever Pongal and Onam return. Dravidian culture is not something displayed in a museum. It is something still alive in the graceful movements of Bharatanatyam. In the Rangoli flower patterns spread across courtyards every morning. In the laughter of neighbors sharing festival rice, even when they do not share the same faith. And deeper inside the plateau, history is waiting in stone. The Ajanta and Ellora caves, dating back to the 2nd century before Christ, still hold Buddhist, Hindu, and Jain sculptures sharp and alive after more than 2,000 years. Carved directly into basalt cliffs by hands whose names no one remembers. And at Hampi, the 14th century capital of the Vijayanagara Empire. Giant stone pillars and temples lie scattered across the plateau, like questions time has not yet answered. What makes them sacred is not the UNESCO title. It is the feeling of standing before them and realizing that art, when it is great enough, can outlive the empire that created it. "66 million years, and this plateau is still here, not because it is hard, but because it knows how to turn destruction into foundation ash, into fertile soil, and the wounds of fire into forests of green." That is what only truly ancient lands can learn, not resilience, but transformation. But to the northwest, there is a land that chooses the opposite path entirely. It simply exposes itself bare golden and so silent that you begin to hear your own thoughts. That silence has weight, not the emptiness of a place where nothing exists, but the silence of a place where too much is happening beneath the surface. The sound of sand shifting as the wind moves across it. The sound of a camel sighing somewhere far away. The sound of your own heartbeat, reminding you that across these 200,000 square kilometers of desert life is still happening. The Thar does not kill with force. It tests people with truth. Golden dunes rise and fall like ocean waves, frozen halfway through motion, reaching up to 150 meters high, constantly moving with the wind, without asking anyone for permission. In the middle of all that endless movement, Sambar Lake lies still, India's largest salt lake, covering 230 square kilometers. Its white surface reflects the sky like a giant mirror the desert has placed down to look back at itself. At sunset, when the sand turns orange-pink and the salt lake glows beneath the fading light, the boundary between earth and sky disappears completely. The Thar is not only sand and salt, it is also a place where life chooses to survive in ways humans would need millions of years of evolution to imagine. the Great Indian Bustard. One of the heaviest flying birds in the world, weighing up to 15 kilograms and standing nearly 1 meter tall, glides low over the dry grasslands between the dunes. With the dignity of a creature that knows, it does not need to fly high to be impressive. Only around 150 remain across all of India, a species standing at the edge of permanent disappearance. They run at high speed across sparse grassland, feeding on insects and seeds, hiding in the scrub when night falls. Not out of fear, but because the desert teaches every living thing here one lesson. Know when to be seen and know when to disappear. Not far from those heavy footsteps, the Chinkara moves across the dunes like a gust of wind given shape. Only 65 centimeters tall at the shoulder and weighing around 25 kilograms, it can run at 96 kilometers an hour, faster than most predators can react. It can go for days without drinking water, taking nearly all the moisture it needs from leaves and dry grasses. It moves at dawn and late at night when the temperature has not yet climbed toward 50 degrees. Humans here have also learned how to live from the desert, not by conquering it, but by understanding it. The Rajputs ride camels between the dunes, in clothing bursting with color red, yellow, blue. As if they are answering the desert's monotony by becoming the only color in the frame. The Bishnoi, guided by 29 principles of environmental protection since the 15th century, see the kedri tree as sacred. It must not be cut. It must not be harmed. When people once came to cut trees for palace timber, the Bishnoi wrapped their arms around the trunks and died in their place. That was not extremism. It was philosophy. If the trees die, the desert wins. If the trees live, humans live. Every year in Pushkar, thousands of camels gather bells, ringing folk music, echoing desert dances, glowing beneath the stars. The camel fair turns the desert into a meeting place of life, of color, and of human laughter, rising into a vastness that seems to have no end. And amid all that movement, golden stone forts watch from above. Jaisalmer Fort, built in 1156, shines beneath the desert sun as if it was not built, but cast from the very sand of the Thar itself. Amber Fort stands massive, with its palaces and reflecting water. These two works of the Rajput kingdoms were left to the future not simply as pride, but as a question. If humans can build this in one of India's harshest deserts, then where truly is the limit of human will? The Indira Gandhi Canal, more than 650 kilometers long, cuts straight through the dunes like a giant blue thread drawn across the map of the desert. Bringing water down from the Himalayas to nourish lands that only a century ago almost no one believed could be farmed. The desert does not retreat, but neither do humans. By day, the Thar can burn at 50 degrees, the ground cracked, the air trembling, the sand reflecting so much heat that the horizon begins to turn into a mirage. But when the sun goes down, the desert wakes in a completely different way. The night sky becomes so crowded with stars, it feels as if someone has scattered salt across black cloth. The temperature drops close to zero. The chinkara goes out to feed. The great Indian bustard hides in the scrub. The Bishnoi sit around fires, telling one another stories their ancestors have been telling for centuries. The desert is not a dead land. It simply lives by a different clock than the rest of the world. And when the first light of dawn touches the dunes, turning them from grey to gold to blazing orange, in less than 10 minutes, you realize that the Thar is not cruel. It is honest. Honest about heat. Honest about dryness. Honest about the fragile line between life and death. And that honesty, without disguise, without decoration, is what makes those who have once come here never truly leave. The desert teaches you dryness, but India does not stop there. It stretches onward to the place where the land grows tired and decides to let go. Where the only thing left ahead is water-deep blue, salt-bitten, and never silent. The land lets go, and the sea receives everything. It does not distinguish between mountains and plains, deserts and plateaus. Everything in the end flows here, dissolving into salt water and becoming part of something larger than itself. More than 7,500 kilometers of coastline, not the outline of a country, but the place where India exhales after everything it has held within. The western coast opens with stillness. The backwaters of Kerala, more than 900 kilometers of natural waterways winding through green coconut forests, are unlike anywhere else in India. Emerald lagoon water reflects the sky, while wooden houseboats drift slowly across it like dreams given shape. The people of Kerala call this a water paradise, and sitting on a boat in the late afternoon when the red sunset stains both the water and the leaning coconut palms, you have no reason to argue. Not far from there, the beaches of Goa stretch out with soft white sand and gentle waves. But this is not a purely Indian coastline. White and golden stone churches from the 16th century still stand among the tropical trees, while old church bells echo every morning. 400 years of Portuguese heritage blends into coastal life as if there was never a border between east and west. This is where two cultures did not collide. They chose to dance together. And the music from that dance is still echoing today. The eastern coast tells a different story, older, quieter, and filled with things only the sea knows how to keep. On the coast of Odisha on moonless nights, thousands of small sea turtles crawl onto the white sand in absolute silence. Their round olive-grey bodies leave long tracks across the wet beach, like writing sent from the sea to the shore. This is the Night of the Turtles, the world's largest mass nesting event, when hundreds of thousands of them come ashore to lay eggs on the same night. They have migrated thousands of kilometers along ocean currents to return to the exact beach where they were born. An instinct so precise that no human navigation device can compare. The hatchlings emerge, crawl toward the sea in darkness, and face birds, predators, and crashing waves. Those that survive will do the same thing decades later. That circle has been turning since before humans knew how to count years. Across the turquoise water, near the lagoon, bottlenose dolphins leap into the air, their dorsal fins flashing in the sun, before they dive back down into white foam. They live in groups of 10 to 100 using sound waves to locate fish in murky water. Hunting together with a precision even the best fishing crews could learn from. Sometimes they swim beside fishermen's boats at dawn, as if reminding them that this sea does not belong only to humans. The people here have understood that for a very long time. Dark-skinned fishermen pull nets heavy with fish onto the beach at sunrise, their hands moving in rhythm, the waves behind them, the smell of salt and fresh fish spreading through the air. Women harvest coconuts from tall palms and grow rice in fertile deltas where the Godavari and Krishna rivers carry silt into the sea. At the Konark Sun Temple, a giant stone chariot built in 1250 finely carved stone wheels still receive the sunlight every day. Never stopping even after nearly 800 years. Time has not destroyed it. Time has only made it more mysterious. Mangrove forests stand quietly amid all this movement, silent, patient, their roots rising like hands from the earth to hold the coastline in place. They filter saltwater, store carbon, and protect the shore from tsunamis. A living shield that local people respect in a way no engineering structure can replace. And at the port of Mumbai, India's largest port, massive container ships anchor beside tiny wooden fishing boats. While a 5.6-kilometer sea bridge curves across the water like a modern question architecture has asked the ocean. Every year when the harvest festivals return, long racing boats cut across the Kerala lagoons as thousands of voices cheer from the banks. Flowers decorate everything. Drums echo. Traditional dancers move gracefully beneath oil lamps. This is not the festival of one religion or one community. It is the festival of an entire way of life. The way people who have chosen to remain beside the sea for hundreds of generations tell one another, we are still here, we are still grateful, we still belong to this place. The sea does not hold anything back. It only pushes forward farther bluer toward places the mainland abandoned long ago. And if you stand here long enough, Watching the direction the turtles swim after laying their eggs, you begin to realize they know something you do not. That beyond that horizon, the story does not end. It simply begins in another language, the language of coral of water so clear you can see the bottom of islands whose address time has forgotten. This is where India is no longer mainland. More than 300 islands scattered across the Indian Ocean. Each island a world of its own. Each shoreline a story no one has ever fully told. Beneath the surface, coral reefs appear like a dream made of color, orange, pink, purple, blue. Thousands of fish move through towering coral columns like the buildings of a city only fish are allowed to live in. This is one of the most beautiful reef systems in the Indian Ocean. Not because it is perfect, but because it is still alive, still breathing, still growing day by day, even as the sea grows warmer and corals in other parts of the world begin to lose their color. Not far from those coral reefs, Barren Island volcano stands in the blue sea, sending white-grey smoke into the sky. India's only active volcano, erupting again and again since 1787. Not destroying, but creating. Each stream of red lava flowing into the sea becomes another piece of land, being born from the heart of the ocean. Deep inside, forests that still have no name on tourist maps, massive grey shapes move through the shadows, slowly, silently, and completely free in a way no elephant on the mainland can still be free. The Andaman elephants are not wild elephants in the ordinary sense. They are the descendants of elephants brought by the British to haul timber from the tropical forests. Then that empire collapsed. The British left. And the elephants stayed. No masters, no chains. Only forest, sea, and a sudden freedom they had to learn how to live with from the beginning. Standing up to 3 meters at the shoulder and weighing nearly 4 tons, they move in small herds through wet rainforest. Using their trunks to break branches and search for young leaves and fruit. And the most astonishing thing is this: they swim. They swim between small islands to find new food, their trunks raised above the surface like natural snorkels. No elephant on the mainland does this. Only elephants that have learned to live with the sea understand that water is not a barrier, it is a road. Higher in the canopy, a strange light moves between the branches. Not sunlight filtering through leaves, the Nicobar pigeon, the closest living relative of the dodo, which disappeared in the 17th century. The dodo vanished because it did not know how to fear humans. The Nicobar pigeon learned that lesson and lays only 1 egg at a time. No hurry, no excess, only enough for the bloodline to continue. Survival does not always require numbers. Sometimes it only requires precision. The indigenous people call it the jewel of the forest. And when you see its shimmering feathers glowing between the tropical shadows, you find no reason to disagree. On the untouched beaches, the oldest human inhabitants of these islands still live in ways the rest of the world abandoned thousands of years ago. The Jarawa move through the forest with an absolute silence only those born beside the forest can possess. Their knowledge of the jungle exists in no book. It is passed from mouth to ear, from one generation to the next, across thousands of years, without writing, because the forest itself is their scripture. And the Sentinelese still guard their shoreline with bows and arrows, refusing all contact with the outside world. Not because they are afraid, but because they have learned that the outside world often brings more loss than what it promises. Their silence is a choice, and it is a choice that deserves absolute respect. But not every memory on these islands is gentle. The cellular jail built by the British between 1896 and 1906 still stands with red brick walls and dark corridors, like a wound history has never fully healed. More than 10,000 Indian political prisoners were held here thousands of kilometers from the mainland, surrounded by a sea with no escape. People called this place Blackwater, not because of the color of the ocean, but because of the color of despair that those imprisoned here had to face every day. Yet many of them never surrendered, and that refusal to surrender on the most remote island inside the strongest prison helped shake an empire. These islands do not need to be discovered. They only need to be left in peace. So the coral can keep growing. So the forests can keep breathing. So the ancient tribes can continue living in their own way without needing permission from anyone. You cannot understand India after one journey. Perhaps not even after a lifetime. But something strange happens after you have stood on the peaks of the Himalayas, sat beside the Ganges at dawn, lost yourself in the desert at sunset. And watched turtles swim out into the dark sea. You no longer need to understand, because India is not a question waiting to be solved. It is something to be felt only when you become quiet enough to let it touch you. If something in this journey made you pause even for just 1 second, share it with someone you think also needs to see the world this way. And if India is not yet on your list, maybe it is time it should be. Subscribe so you do not miss the next journey. We still have so many stories left to tell.